William Uday seems like he's been around here a long time, played a lot of football for us. So, we've got two guys that have played, and then Johnny's the third. And then, defensive end, we've got a little bit of depth there. Ewing Simmons took a setback, hurt his knee Friday. It doesn't look like right now it requires surgery. He did have an MRI last night. But we got a little bit of depth and a little bit of strength. We're starting to get some older, more experienced guys up there, and I think you can kind of feel that.
Coach, speaking of the defense, the Ivy League during the offseason voted on not having tackling during practice to try and eliminate injuries. You ever think of anything like that, or what?
I don't know exactly what the Ivy League ruled on. This is a contact sport. And I think for guys to learn how to protect themselves, to learn how to play the game properly, I think you have to. So until they eliminate contact in the game, I don't think you can eliminate contact in practice. I'm not sure that's really fair, particularly for younger guys. This isn't the NFL. Certainly we try to be smart with everything we do. But sometimes, and I learned this from Lou Holtz, the more you practice physically, a lot of times the less injuries, quite honestly, you have, because the body gets used to handling them, and you also develop depth. So I think this is a contact sport. We try to be smart. During the season, it is a little bit different. There's really not that much true take them to the ground tackling. One eye is always on safety, but I think the biggest piece of safety is preparing guys for what's going to happen in the game, because you'd hate to just turn them loose in the game without the kind of preparation.
What you talked about, defensive line is a little bit more experienced. Guys like these been in the legal defense, they just look bigger.
It's been a long process. We've got some guys that have been around here a while. We're not the biggest team, but we're a pretty strong team, and that's the most important thing. So I think we're going to see the benefit of that, hopefully this coming year, but years to come. We're finally taking some traction as a program, where we do have some older, more mature guys, really at every position. You look at Daniel Henry, he's another example of a guy that, is just a big, strong safety all of a sudden, where, he looked like a little kid this time a year ago. So, it's starting to take shape a little bit.
Coach, how does Cole Gauchi look after a couple days he passes?
Cole's an exciting guy. It gets kind of repetitious to continue to say that. But he's just a pleasure to coach. He's a pleasure to be around. You're like a kid at Christmas, when all of a sudden you got a weapon like Cole out there. You just kind of want to go out there and do different things with him. So far, so good. I think he's a guy that's hungry to be back out there, and I think he can do a lot of things. I think it's pretty obvious when you're out here and watching him practice. He's definitely a man. He's a grown man at 260 pounds.
How are Ocasio and Alex Hart coming along as backups to Kimmy?
Boy, pretty good. We're so thin there. We really are. We've got a lot of quality there, but we're thin. With Kimmy and Dakota, obviously we know who they are, and then Alex Hart and Austin Ocasio, we've got two quality players. It's a little early to tell just because we haven't just cut them loose. Everything's still pretty scripted. So I think just the more experience they get, and hopefully they can stay healthy through the spring, because they need a lot of quality reps. I look at those two guys kind of like I look at Anu and we moved Q Drennan back to wide receiver, and certainly Matt Corrals. We've got some pieces. We really do. It's just guys need a lot of reps this spring.
Do you expect Q to stay there, or is it just because Delane?
I think he's going to stay there. He did such a good job in fall camp for us at receiver. You look at the quarterback position, it's just going to be hard for him to get on the field that fast. And I have no doubt he can get on the field for us in the fall at wide receiver. So, we're probably not patient enough. He's probably not patient enough. I know he can be a good quarterback, but I just don't think he's going to be able to get on the field soon enough for us not to take advantage of an athlete like that. So we moved him back to receiver, and I think he'll stay there.
Coach, what's it say about a guy like Darian Allen, who hung around, didn't get a lot of reps, and now the last couple of days, he's been getting nonstop reps?
I think, again, the example that Brian Oldenkamp and Romine set last year, Dylan Romine. There was two guys that really we didn't expect to play a whole lot. Then all of a sudden, one day in August, we lose two offensive linemen out here, By the end of the season, Oldenkamp and Romine both played healthy, and we're out there against Arizona playing every snap. So I think there's a great example of what those guys did last year. And, DA still has to earn it. There's some competition there. We do have 5 offensive linemen coming in this summer that we're very excited about. But, I think the model's been set. If you stay, eventually you'll play. And, sometimes it does take a long time. I think Andrew Ock was another example of that. Andrew's in there right now, really starting at offensive tackle for us. Another guy that's been around here a long time. So, particularly at that position, if you can stay and just be patient, continue to take reps, eventually you're going to have a chance to play.
Are you still trying to determine positions maybe in the secondary? Like where does Barnwell belong? Where does Gergel belong?
Yeah, we've got some injuries back there too. Gergel's still fighting a hamstring, so he hasn't been able to go full speed. Kenneth Maxwell has a hamstring now. He hasn't been able to go. Stanley Barnwell today, looked like, without watching the tape yet, he made a move. Stanley Barnwell's a guy that's a big, tall, rangy guy, a lot like Daniel Henry, that today looked like he gained a step. So yeah, we've got some experience back there as well, counting the nickel position. So it's kind of interchangeable, and we know before the end of the season everybody's going to play. So we're pretty much a group back there that now all of a sudden has some experience. And there's some guys moving around.
Before the first practice of spring, you remind us about the margin and how close it is. Games that were won last year that could have been lost, and vice versa, that were lost that could have been won. How do you keep them playing with the same edge off of a season where they finally got a winning record and got to a bowl game and keep them hungry the way you talk about?
I think it's all about competition right now. It's about competition to get on the field. There's no substitute for depth. There's no substitute for the talent level improving. That's the biggest message. There just cannot be anybody in their comfort zone, because if you are, you may not play. And we're not that way across the board yet, but we're that way at a lot more positions than we've been in the past. So right now it's about building pieces. It's about finding guys that can help us win next year and getting the best players in position. So it's a little too early to start worried about, I talk about all the time, and it's kind of corny, but I said win. Win stands for what's important now. And what's important now is here we are in March, right? We can't get ready for South Dakota. We can't get ready for New Mexico State right now, or Rutgers, our first 3 games. What's important now is we come out here every day and just try to improve a little bit and get the best players in a position where they can impact this team. So, it's one step at a time. But competition is the biggest thing.
Didn't see Raymond Baylor out there today. Is he okay?
He's in the doghouse today a little bit. He didn't take care of his business, so he didn't really deserve to get any reps. There's another example of a young guy. It's not enough just to show up out here and do the right things. You got to do the right thing. So he's serving a little bit of a penalty today. Okay.
Thanks,
All right.